But right now, I want to take a look at the public hearings going on with Blanket Rezoning at City Hall. They resume tomorrow. And the feeling, the vibe in the city is that we are unanimously for repealing blanket rezoning. We think the buildings are too big. There's too many of them. They are taking over the corner lots in our oldest communities. But there's a big but here, and that is making sure the voices are heard from those who say, let's hold on a moment. What did blanket rezoning actually do for our neighborhoods and the people of the city? Someone who spoke already at the public hearings is Christy Page, daughter of aging parents, who says, let's just give this a moment because there are benefits to be found. Joining us now on the morning show. Welcome to the show, Christy.
Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for being here and sharing your story. You've already spoken at the public hearings in support of saying, what could this housing do for our older people, our older populations? Tell me about why that was so important to you.
Well, it's because of my parents. My parents are the front of the baby boomers, which are all turning 80 this year. And when they became empty nesters, they built their dream retirement home. And they were forward thinking, and they tried to plan as best they could. They built a bungalow with everything they needed on one floor and had room for mobility devices, and they thought they were set. But my dad lost his ability to drive 3 years ago and became trapped in a community that wasn't built for pedestrians. It was really hard calling him. Sometimes he'd say he hadn't really talked to anyone that day, and he's a very extroverted man. So what they thought they needed was not what they needed. He has since moved into care. My mom, who had a lot of trouble taking care of her dream home by herself, has since moved into a rental. Surprisingly, she chose one with stairs. And I worry about her driving, but right now she's not dependent on me, so that's nice. And I would like, at some point, I'm going to need her closer to me, but my street hasn't been blessed with diverse housing types. And I just feel like there's this whole huge demographic that's coming. Our relatively young city is about to shift and have a whole bunch more 80-year-olds because the baby boomers are getting older.
So from your perspective, because you also study this at the University of Calgary in the sphere of planning, but from your personal experience, you can see where a neighborhood like Montgomery or Boness or Banff Trail or Killarney has a mixture of standalone single-family homes, but then other different diverse options from duplexes to row homes, where people like your parents could live a smaller life, but one that's still rich with community.
Exactly. And communities that include everyone are great communities. You don't want a homogeneous community. You want something where everyone has a place because we all have different things that we bring to our community.
One of the things I remember most about a conversation I had with one of our older people years ago was they said when they still have a home in a community, they have a window to the world, and that is people walking their dogs, children skipping home from school, seeing people out playing street hockey, seeing the mailman coming. And when you move people into indoor facilities locked away from the world, you lose that window to the world. And when you lose that window to the world, it robs our older people of so much.
Absolutely. And the intro to this started with saying that the public believes that everybody wants to get rid of blanket zoning. Mm-hmm. I find that really hard to believe. I think that's a narrative that gets pushed. But public hearings are not referendums. The barrier to entry is huge. Not everyone has time on Thursday to go spend hours sitting around council waiting for their turn to talk, or the interest in looking into what is actually happening. I think blanket zoning is a great thing. It puts everyone on the same playing field, a level playing field. Having different zoning on corner parcels or mid-block would create winners and losers. It would set neighbors against each other. I'm actually part of my inner city community association planning group, and I've never heard people against maximized RCG. The thing they're more worried about is really tall, shadowy towers. Mm-hmm. And I hear a lot of people at the hearings talking about thoughtful planning, But that means pushing high density to nodes and corridors and using apartment people to block out pollution and noise from higher income areas. That's not city building.
What you said recently, just a couple minutes ago, was so interesting, Christy. By the way, we're talking with Christy Page, who is in support of blanket rezoning because it takes care of our older population and allows them to still have a place in communities. You mentioned referendum, and that's interesting because we had a younger person on the show last week, a student, and they said that these hearings are tough because you're trying to build it around school and work and families. They also said this is such a contentious, emotional issue that it should go to a referendum. So that's an interesting bookmark that our younger student and your voice for your parents, completely opposite ends of the age spectrum, but maybe calling for the same mechanism to really get the voice of what Calgarians want on this.
Well, actually, I'm not calling for a referendum. I'm saying that the public hearing isn't one, and I see a lot of councillors counting the public speakers and saying, oh, we have this many for and this many against. But it's not a good group of the population to look at, because the people who can go talk are the people with time on their hands. They're often very organized. I was also part of the LAP working group in my community. And while the city team really tried to make us a diverse group at the beginning, a year in, the only people still showing up every other month and doing the homework in between were a very homogeneous bunch. We were an educated group. We all owned houses in the area. And we had the time to care deeply about our community, and we were going to let City Council know what we thought, with or without the invitation from the LAP group. I think it would be much more worthwhile for the city to go engage at grocery stores where busy families are running weekly errands and asking them what they think, bringing pizza to busy transit stops and asking people questions there. Set up at social service providers where people with the least ability to use their voice can be heard.
Love this conversation. Love your perspective on this. Christy Page, daughter of aging parents, who spoke at the rezoning public hearing already on supporting blanket rezoning. Thank you for your time and your perspective on this, Christy, because I think it's really interesting. The grocery store, the transit angle, meeting people where they're at is a great thing to bring forward, and I appreciate you sharing it on the QR Calgary Morning Show.
Thank you.
Thank you, Christy.